Let's go back to your portfolio. So 70s and 80s assets, are you dealing with much repairs and maintenance issues, or are they running pretty smooth?
They actually run very smooth. Most of the buildings that we have, we've done renovations. Most of them heavy renovations. So when everything is new, new cabinets, the faucets are new, the sinks are new. Yeah, not big issues. One of the things that I always do when I visit our properties, I like to talk to the maintenance guys and say, "What's your biggest maintenance call on?" That tells me two things. One, is there an issue with plumbing or something like that? And the other is there an issue with the items that we replaced in that renovation? Is something that keeps breaking down, or maybe we have to change something, do something a little bit different. But for the most part, because we've been doing it for such a long time, we're pretty good at picking quality replacement parts, faucets, light switches, sinks, toilets, that kind of stuff that gets used, so that we want to maintain our maintenance expenses as low as possible.
And do you find that majority of your expenses, well, I guess you would ask the maintenance guy for this. What about items that are a little less touched? Electrical, roof, plumbing, AC units?
Well, the roof, you'll know when we buy the assets, we know the condition of the roof. There are some assets when we do the acquisition that we know we have to replace it. So we replace it. Some of it gets replaced. Some of it gets recoated. So depending on what you have to do, we've been lucky on some that we bought that it just got recoated by the seller, and there's warranty behind that. So we control that because the roof is one of the big expenses.
Yeah.
When we buy the buildings during due diligence, we always scope all our sewer lines. So we know what condition they're in. Is there a crack somewhere? Is some of them caving in? So we know if we're going to have to fix something, we know ahead of time. Electrical, we do our inspections, so we know our panel's going to be approved by the insurance company, because if you have the old
Zinsco or
the old ones, it's a big thing. So we'll know, do we have to replace them? We know, do we have aluminum wiring or do we have copper wiring? Because that's an issue too.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's
right.
Just go ahead. I'll comment in a second.
Do we need to have pigtails and whatnot to because the copper wire, you pigtail in with copper wires, and that's kind of how you mitigate that. So we go through our inspection during our due diligence, and we know what we're getting ourselves into pretty much. We talk to the tenants. So we ask the tenants, hey, what are the issues in your unit? Because not the sellers or the management company might not be forthcoming. When we're doing renovations, we're replacing all appliances. So sometimes we don't care what the condition of the appliances are. We're going to replace them anyways. But knowing that going in, we know what we have to fix and we budget for that.
So over in the last 2 years, have you done any full renos?
Yeah.
And
we just finished one in Phoenix earlier this year, 150 units.
And 150 units. Okay. Yeah. And what was the age of that property?
83.
And what was the scope per unit on renovation?
Everything, cabinets, countertops, sinks, appliances, stainless steel appliances, light fixtures, window dressings, paint, flooring, about $23,000 a door.
23. Okay, so 150 units, $20,000 a door. So this is a major rental project.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And do you have a GC that runs it, or you?
We have a GC.
Okay.
They work directly under us. We manage all our GC.
And you have some experience with this. So you started your career
in building.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a builder. My first career. So I became a general contractor when I was 21, building homes. And so I do have a lot of experience in picking the contractors, which is super important.
Yeah.
Structuring their contracts so that they can't play around. You know, you got a schedule, you got to keep your schedule. And then the other half is paying them. So we have to have the cash to pay them. You don't pay your contractors and they can't continue working, right? So it's all putting it all together, what we require from them, and then what our commitment is to them is what gives us the results we get. We did that renovation, 150 units. We did it in 16 months.
That was actually my next question. So you did it in 16 months, and was that on unit turn?
No,
or
we force
you
renovation.
did.
Yeah,
you did. You actually didn't renew.
Yeah, when we did the acquisition, the original game plan was to do 12 units every 4 weeks.
Okay.
And when we did the acquisition, we had a bunch of people move at the same time. So we had like 15 units right out of the gate. Contractor took them on, and usually he takes the first month or two to kind of dial in.
Mm-hmm.
And with a little bit of extra time, then we had another 13 right behind. So he got those 2 batches ready for us. At the same time, our management company is going ahead and saying, okay, what's the next batch looking like? Then they start moving tenants around. We ended up going too slow, meaning that
16. This is so just for everyone who's listening. 150 units to 16 months is actually very fast. I just want to make sure everyone hears that. Just so everyone knows. Okay, so but you wanted it quicker than this.
Well, that was the sped up result.
Okay,
because originally we're doing 12 unit batches, and our leasing team had them pre-leased 100% by the time they gave us the batch. So we're thinking, okay, that's not fast enough. Because you got to catch those leasing waves, right?
Sure.
Here in the summer. And so what we did is talk to the contractor and says, can you go faster? We want 16 units every 4 weeks. He goes, I can give you 16, but not in 4 weeks and 5 weeks. I said, all right, done. Do it. So he picked up the tempo. We started doing 16 units every 5 weeks, and our leasing team still managed to get them basically pre-leased. So they gave us the units and we got people moving in.
And on this 150 unit deal, what was your going in cap?
Wow, I think if I remember correctly, it could have been like in low, maybe like a 3.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember.
And what do you believe your return on cost is?
On those, for the renovations, it somewhere 20-30%.
Okay. And what about your cap, stabilized cap?
A stabilized cap, what is it? It's got to be like a 6.5 or something like that.
So,
and we got owner financing on that deal.
Oh, great! And where is that deal located?
It's in Phoenix, 19th and Northwood.
What's it called?
It's off the railroad tracks. It's called Butler on Montana.
Okay,
Butler.
Okay, well, great. So, and now it's running smooth.
We're probably like 97-98% occupied.
Great.
And then just another thing is that we ended up keeping about 83% of our existing tenants.
How? Have you turned 100% of the units?
Because we were moving batches of tenants into the renovated units.
Oh, wow. And they were willing to pay that increase.
Yeah.
So what was the
like
rent?
A $500 increase.
And they still took it.
Yeah. That's how, but here's the thing. The building was self-managed when we bought it. So when we asked for financials, they came on a spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet. Sure. There was no website. That wasn't professionally managed. And the rents were way under market.
Was there a broker involved?
Yes.
Who was it?
It was Orion.
Okay.
Orion was a broker on that deal.
Ooh, which guy?
It was Linda and Angie.
Okay. I don't know them. I've done a couple deals with Orion. Zach Mishkin, we've done some deals with him. And then Jackson in that office, we did a deal together. That was the one we did in November. That's a great office.
It is. Yeah. So we have a relationship with them. They brought us the deal. And then, and getting owner financing, that was kind of key. Now, because of the market that we were in, we couldn't get the bridge loan on it because it didn't make sense.
Sure.
So we actually raised the money for the CapEx.
Okay.
On that.
Well, great.
So it worked out perfect. Like I said, 16 months is super fast. We maintained about 80% occupancy during the whole time. So we have.
And what's your hold period for that deal?
Hold period? We're going to hold it. We're going to hold it till the market changes.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Usually we like to do 2x for our investors, 2 times equity multiple is what we shoot for. But we're not getting that right now because of the condition of the markets. You got in Arizona.
It's also very spot and time pricing. You know, right. I mean, that's one thing that I think is, people talk about how deals don't make sense right now, but under that, if you are constantly making decisions when the market is down, I mean, you buy when the market's down, you buy when the market's up, you're going to have to deal with one swinging one way or the other. So, I guess I just hear that and I go, well, right now, in another 2 years, that number probably will change.
It'll change. We have interest rates starting to tick down, so we'll see what happens there. In Arizona, we know that new supply is going to have about an 80% drop in new supply coming online in 2026. We also know that there's about 5,500 people moving into Arizona a month. And we see all the data centers and all the businesses moving in. We see all the infrastructure being built, rebuilt, expanded, the freeways, the bridges, the overpasses, the underpasses, so that the city's building. So the city knows they're bracing themselves for continued population growth. So for us, three big things that we're looking at is one, when the new supply drops, and it's going to be a huge drop because the builders stopped because of interest rates. If the population continues to increase, and here take a note that the new supply that's coming online right now is actually being absorbed. So it's not an issue that they have tons of vacant units and not enough people to fill them. And so when that happens, the occupancy market-wise, we believe it's going to increase. When that increases, it's going to give us the ability to start increasing rents because now, it's the supply-demand curve, right? There won't be enough supply. There'll be more demand. Rents start increasing. And if we have the probability of having interest rates come down, then all of these assets that we have and that we continue to buy, the valuations will shoot through the roof, and it'll be perfect exits for those.
That's good. So we learned about your career. And let's jump into your kids. So you got 4 boys.
Yeah.
And what's your oldest? And tell us what it was like, very specifically career-wise, when you had that first kid, and how were transitions for you? How was the whole experience?
Yeah. Well, the youngest is 19, 20, 22, and 23.
Okay.
So they're really close, 4 and 5 years approximately.
And all boys.
All boys. It's fun.
I bet.
Yeah. And they're all responsible. They're all good kids. They're all in college right now. So it's, it's great.
I thought you were going to say expensive, but.
Well, they are expensive. Yes. I didn't say that, but for sure they are.
So,
right?
But it's fun. They're all in college. Yeah. And, but when the first one came out, and I guess we talked about this a lot because generally, especially with entrepreneurs, we hear that was a pretty big factor in going solo, however you want to call it, within an entrepreneurial venture. So how was that for you?
When they started being born, I had started buying. That's when I kind of started buying buildings. So I was still working W-2 job, but that plan was to leave that, build the business big enough where I can go ahead and leave it. And when my third one was born, is when I made the transition from W-2 to going on my own. So it got big enough where it's like I couldn't do both jobs anymore. I was a banker at the time and building the portfolio. And it's just like I had to let one go. And yeah, of course, I want to go on my own if I can.
Yeah.
And I always like to say, so when my 2 oldest ones were about 3 and 4, when they could walk, the property management, they still delivered the checks, the rent checks at the time. It wasn't electronic at the time, so they still delivered rent checks via mail. And we had a door with a slot in the laundry room where the mailman would drop the checks through the slot, and there'd be all kinds of envelopes on the floor. And I would tell the kids, hey, go get the rent checks, go get the rent checks. So they'd come running around the corner, they'd pick them all up and they'd bring it to me. So that's what they were exposed to. They were there when the brokers would come over to the house and, you're signing purchase agreements or you're signing loan docs, and they got to see all of that. So that was really good exposure. I actually have 2 of the boys want to get into the business.
Great.
So it's really cool to be able for them to make that decision.
Yeah.
Because I get to hang out with them all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so those 2, one is in CU, Colorado, with a real estate major. The other one is at USC, and he's a real estate development major.
Great.
So they're doing what they got to do.
Awesome.
Which is a requirement.